Picture this. A single dagger, glinting under a blood-red moon, ends the life of a sultan, and an empire trembles. In the 11th century, a man named Hasan ibn Sabbah turned a mountain fortress into a nightmare factory, churning out killers so fearless they smiled as they died. The assassins, whispered about in bazaars from Persia to Jerusalem, weren't just murderers. They were architects of chaos, promising paradise to those who struck for them. But here's the kicker. Were they drugged fanatics, as the legends claim, or geniuses who outsmarted the world? Today, their shadow still haunts us. Conspiracy nuts swear their secrets live on in the Illuminati, while gamers relive their leaps in Assassin's Creed. So, grab your popcorn, because we're diving into the darkest chapter of history you've never dared to question. Stick around, truth's about to get messy. Every legend begins with a fracture. In the 7th century, the Prophet Muhammad united the warring tribes of Arabia under the fiery banner of Islam, a religion young, fierce, and unyielding. But when the Prophet died, the unity he forged crumbled like sand. The Muslim world split into two: Sunnis, who believed the Caliph should be elected, and Shiites, who swore allegiance only to the Prophet's bloodline. But even among the Shiites, harmony was a mirage. In the 8th century, a new sect emerged, the Ismailis, devoted to Ismail, the eldest son of the 6th Imam, Jafar al-Sadiq. They believed he was the true heir, destined to lead. Yet the Ismailis themselves would face a schism that birthed the assassins. In the 11th century, Egypt's Fatimid dynasty, ruled by Ismaili caliphs, stood at the heart of this storm. The Caliph al-Mustansir had two sons, Nizar, the eldest, rightful heir by tradition, and Mustali, the younger. On his deathbed, the Caliph made a choice that would ignite a fire. He named Mustali as his successor, betraying Nizar and shattering the Ismaili world. Nizar was imprisoned, his fate sealed in a forgotten cell. His followers, the Nizaris, became outcasts, hunted and despised. But from this betrayal rose a man who would redefine power. Hasan ibn Sabbah, scholar, poet, mystic, was no ordinary leader. Legend claims he dined with the poet Omar Khayyam, debating the mysteries of the universe. Educated, charismatic, and fiercely devout, Hasan saw himself as more than a man. Was he a prophet, a manipulator, or something far darker? He rallied the Nizaris, promising them a new dawn. But to forge it, he needed a stronghold, a place where no army could reach. In 1090, Hasan ibn Sabbah found his sanctuary, Alamut, the Eagle's Nest, a fortress carved into the mountains of Persia. Legend tells of how he captured it, not with swords, but with words. Through persuasion, he convinced the fortress's defenders to surrender without a fight. This was no mere castle. It was the cradle of a new order. Hasan declared the new doctrine, Dawah al-Jadida, the new call. He abolished Sharia law, replacing it with stricter, almost otherworldly rules. Taxes, gone. In their place, the people built canals, fortifications, and fortresses under Hasan's command. This was no ordinary state. It was a utopia, or perhaps a dystopia, where every citizen served a higher purpose. Hasan's vision was bold, a society of equals united by faith and fear. He proclaimed himself a messenger of the hidden 13th Imam, a figure destined to herald the Last Judgment. To his followers, he was more than a leader. He was a living myth, the old man of the mountain. But myths alone don't build empires. Hasan needed something sharper, something deadlier. What drove Hasan to create a brotherhood of killers? And how did a scholar become the architect of terror? The answer lies in the heart of Alamut, where secrets were forged in blood. In 1090, Hasan ibn Sabbah found his sanctuary, a fortress carved from the bones of the earth itself. Alamut, the Eagle's Nest, stood atop a sheer cliff, a place where armies faltered and legends were born. Legend whispers that Hasan conquered it, not with steel, but with words, his voice a blade that bent the will of its defenders. This was no mere stronghold. It was the crucible where a new order would rise. Hasan declared his vision, Dawah al-Jadida, the new call, a doctrine that shattered the old world. He cast aside Sharia law, replacing it with rules forged in fire, stricter, almost divine. Taxes vanished, but the people paid a different price: labor. Canals, fortifications, and fortresses sprang from their hands, a testament to Hasan's iron will. This was no ordinary state. It was a utopia of equals, or perhaps a prison veiled as paradise. Hasan crowned himself a messenger of the hidden 13th Imam, a figure said to sleep until the Last Judgment. To his followers, he was more than a man. He was the Old Man of the Mountain, a title that echoed through time like a prophecy. But words and faith alone couldn't sustain his dream. He needed a weapon sharper than steel. To wield that weapon, Hasan crafted the Fidai, devoted warriors bound by a sacred oath. These weren't mere killers. They were living enigmas, trained from the age of 13 or 14, plucked from the poorest villages. Their initiation was a trial by fire, endurance tests that would break lesser men. They learned to fight with bows, spears, and later crossbows brought by crusaders, their hands mastering poisons that could kill with a whisper. But the true test was the mind. They endured days without food or water, stood for hours in silence, and faced hazing that rivaled the harshest tales, kicked, stoned, beaten with sticks until their resolve hardened like steel. Hasan demanded perfection. They mastered languages, disguises, and the art of trust. Then came the myth that sealed their legend. Hasan, they say, drugged his recruits with hashish, whisking them to a paradise of wine, beauty, and bliss. Upon waking, he promised, "This is your reward. Kill for me, and return to Eden." Was it truth or manipulation? Some whisper he used doubles, staging resurrections to prove his divine power. Yet the reality was brutal. Hasan ruled with an iron fist. Even his own sons weren't spared. One died for plotting against him, another for tasting forbidden wine. His daughters were banished to spin yarn, their lives erased. This was no brotherhood of love. It was a cult of obedience, where every blade answered to the old man's will. But who was the first to strike? And how did a scholar's dream turn into a reign of terror? The answer lies in the blood that first stained Alamut's stones. The year was 1092, and the quiet city of Sabbah trembled under a shadow unseen. Hasan ibn Sabbah's dream had taken its first deadly breath. A muezzin, his voice once calling the faithful to prayer, had whispered too much to the wrong ears. The Nizaris marked him as a traitor, and in the dead of night, their blades found him. The killers, captured and tortured by the Sultan's men, met a gruesome end, their silence a testament to their training. But when the news reached Alamut, Hasan ascended to the fortress's highest tower, his eyes blazing with a fire that rivaled the dawn. "To strike this Sultan is not just pleasing to God," he declared, his voice rolling like thunder across the mountains. "It is a sacred duty." From the crowd, a young man stepped forward, Butakira Rani, his face alight with zeal. He vowed to fulfill the old man's will, and with a poisoned dagger in hand, he vanished into the night. Days later, in a palace niche, Butakira waited, his body still as stone for 5 grueling hours. The Sultan's guards, lulled by routine, lowered their vigilance. In a heartbeat, the young Fidai struck, his blade sinking into the Sultan's chest, the poison coursing like a silent curse. The Sultan fell, but Butakira's triumph was short-lived. Guards cut him down in an instant. Yet back at Alamut, a copper tablet was forged, its surface etched with his name and his victims, a monument to the first kill. This was no random act. It was the birth of a strategy that would echo for 2 centuries. Hasan had seen the futility of open war against the Seljuk hordes. Why clash in the field when a single dagger could sever the head from the beast? And so, The Order of the Assassins was born, a phantom army that struck where no shield could guard. The Seljuks, fierce and proud, reeled from the blow. Their leaders, viziers, military advisors, even sultans, became targets in a deadly game of shadows. Each assassination weakened their grip, sowing chaos as fools rushed to replace the fallen. Hasan's reach extended beyond Persia, his fidei slipping into the courts of the Arab world like ghosts. The legend grew, whispered by merchants and crusaders alike. Some called them Hashishids, claiming hashish fueled their fearless resolve, a notion that clashed with Hasan's ban on wine and excess. Others saw them as rabble, a derogatory slur that stuck. Yet the truth lay buried in Alamut's silence, where no outsider dared tread. By the 12th century, the assassins' power had become a political force to reckon with. Their blades danced to no single master's tune. Anyone could hire them, so long as it aligned with Hasan's will. In 1192, the Crusader King Conrad of Montferrat learned this lesson the hard way. Once an ally of Hasan, Conrad's greed led him to rob Nizari merchants, igniting a deadly feud. Two fidei, posing as devout Christians, infiltrated his court, living among his people for 3 years. On a fateful day, as the congregation knelt in prayer, one struck, his poisoned dagger piercing Conrad's heart. The guards slew him, but a second fidei emerged from the crowd, finishing the deed with a swift cut to the throat. The copper tablets at Alamut gained another name, their glow a silent testament to the order's reach. Even Saladin, the lion of the Arab world, felt the assassin's sting. 8 times they tried to claim his life, one attempt leaving him gravely wounded. Yet the great warrior survived, eventually forging a fragile peace with the old man. The Arab courts buzzed with fear. Could a servant, a beggar, even a priest be a fidei in disguise? This was no mere sect. It was a shadow empire, its tendrils stretching from Persia to Jerusalem. The Seljuks weakened, their feuds deepening with each lost leader, while the assassins grew bolder, their myth outpacing their numbers. But how did a scholar turn killers into kingslayers? The answer lies in the unbreakable bond Hasan forged, a loyalty so fierce it defied death itself. In 1130, Count Henri of Champagne, a crusader lord, visited Alamut, marveling at its walls. Hasan, with a casual gesture, sent 2 fidei plummeting from the ramparts to their deaths, proving his command. 8 more will die at my word, he said, his gaze unyielding. Henri left in awe, the tale spreading like wildfire. Was it hashish, the promise of paradise, or the mystique of the 13th Imam that bound them? Perhaps it was all 3, a cocktail of faith and fear that turned boys into legends. Yet this power came at a cost. Hasan's ruthlessness spared no one, not even his own blood. He executed one son for plotting treason, another for sipping wine, and banished his daughters to a life of spinning yarn. His rule was absolute, a cult where disobedience meant death. The assassins thrived on this terror, their 850 recorded kills, some say more, etched into history. But as their legend grew, so did the whispers of their downfall. The Seljuks might falter, but new enemies loomed on the horizon, their hooves thundering toward Alamut. What secret did Hasan hide that made his killers so fearless? And who would dare challenge the old man's empire? The answers lie in the blood that would soon stain the mountains red. The assassin's legend grew like a storm cloud over the mountains, fed by whispers of the impossible. In the shadowed halls of Alamut, Hasan ibn Sabbah wove a tapestry of myths that turned his fidei into more than men. They became specters of fear and faith. One tale spoke of a garden hidden within the fortress, a paradise of silk-clad figures, flowing wine, and fruits that glistened like jewels. Recruits drugged with hashish awoke there, their senses drowned in bliss, only to be told this was their reward for death in service. Was it a vision or a cruel illusion crafted by the old man's alchemists? The story, carried by Marco Polo centuries later, painted the assassins as slaves to a drugged dream, smiling through torture as they returned to their Eden. Yet Hasan's strict bans on wine and excess cast doubt. Perhaps this was slander, a weapon of his enemies to tarnish his name? Another myth rivaled the wildest tales of old. Hasan, they said, could defy death itself. In one account, he summoned a follower, a young Fidai, and before a trembling crowd, the floor split open. The boy's head rested on a blood-smeared copper dish. His body vanished below, severed by some unseen blade. Hasan leaned close and asked, "Tell me of your last kill." The head's eyes fluttered open, its voice rasping a tale of triumph, leaving the onlookers awestruck. Was it sorcery, a clever trick with doubles, or the power of belief that made the dead speak? The boy's true execution followed, his head displayed as proof, cementing Hasan's godlike aura. These stories, echoing the mystical resurrections of Game of Thrones' fiery trials, bound the Fidai to him with chains of awe. But the assassin's reach extended beyond myth into the crucible of war. As the Crusaders clashed with the Seljuks in the Holy Land, Hasan saw an opportunity. The old man, no ally of blind faith, forged a pact with the Christian invaders. "Weaken my enemies," he offered, "and my blades will serve you." The Fidai struck, their daggers finding Seljuk commanders, their deaths a gift to the Crusader cause. Yet this alliance was a double-edged sword. When the Crusaders turned on Hasan, Conrad's murder a stark betrayal, Richard the Lionheart's shadow loomed large. Some whisper the English king ordered the hit, a move to claim Jerusalem's throne. The assassins, like the stealthy brotherhood of Assassin's Creed, played both sides, their loyalty a cipher no one could crack. Their influence spread further, their blades touching even the blood of Russia. Count Raymond II, great-grandson of Anna Yaroslavna, daughter of Yaroslav the Wise, fell to a Fidai's poison in 1152. The copper tablets at Alamut grew heavy with names, each kill a thread in a web that ensnared caliphs and kings. The Arab world trembled, their courts haunted by the specter of a disguised killer, a beggar, a priest, a friend. Saladin himself, after surviving 8 attempts, bore the scars of their craft. His peace with Hasan, a fragile truce born of respect and fear. Yet the seeds of downfall were sown in this triumph. Hasan's heirs lacked his iron will. After his death, the fortress's purity eroded. Luxury crept in, coins minted in Alamut's name clinked in greedy hands, and the elite rose where equality once reigned. The Fidai, once united by faith, fragmented as power corrupted their ranks. The Seljuks, though weakened, watched with vengeful eyes, while a new storm gathered on the horizon. In the 13th century, the Mongol tide rolled westward, their hooves a drumbeat of doom. Alamut, for all its might, stood alone against an enemy no dagger could stop. What secret did Hasan's myths conceal, and could his empire withstand the coming tempest? The answer lay in the blood that would soon flood the mountain's base, a tale yet to unfold. The year 1256 dawned with a thunder that shook the mountains of Persia, a sound no dagger could silence. The Mongols, a relentless tide of steel and fire, swept across the steppes, their eyes set on Alamut. For nearly 2 centuries, Hasan ibn Sabbah's fortress had stood as an unyielding sentinel, its walls a testament to the old man's vision. But no empire lasts forever, and the assassin's reign faced its gravest test. The Mongol leader Hulagu Khan, grandson of Genghis, brought an army that dwarfed the Fidai's numbers, their siege engines a shadow cast over the eagle's nest. Alamut resisted for 6 months, its defenders fighting with the ferocity of a cornered beast, their blades singing a final hymn. Yet betrayal crept like a serpent. Legend says a traitor revealed a hidden path, and the Mongols breached the unbreachable. The fall was swift and brutal. Swords clashed, blood stained the ancient stones, and 10,000 Nizaris met their end in a massacre that echoed like a requiem. The fortress of Lamassar held for another year, its garrison a last flicker of resistance, while Gürbku stood defiant for 2 decades, a lone candle against the dark. But by 1257, Alamut's glory was ash, its copper tablets shattered, its secrets buried under Mongol boots. The Fidai scattered, some fled to Syria, others hid in Iran's rugged peaks, their brotherhood fractured yet unbroken. Was this the end of the assassins, or merely a new chapter in their shadow? Their legacy lingered like a ghost in the wind. The Ismailis, the Nizaris' spiritual kin, survived, their faith adapting to a world without Alamut. In Persia, they found refuge under the Shah's wary gaze, but tensions flared. In the 19th century, their leader clashed with the Shah and fled to India, then Pakistan, a diaspora born of survival. There, they thrived as a closed, devout community, their tithes sustaining a quiet power. One leader, driven from his homeland, sought sanctuary in England, integrating into the aristocracy with a grace that masked his origins. This was Aga Khan IV, a billionaire philanthropist whose influence stretches from Sardinia's Costa Esmeralda to the United Nations, his name a whisper of the past in modern halls. Conspiracy theorists weave a darker thread. They claim the assassin's secrets flowed to the Templars, then the Freemasons, and finally the Illuminati, a hidden hand shaping the world. Is Aga Khan a guardian of this legacy? His wealth a veil for ancient knowledge? The ruins of Alamut, silent amid the mountains, offer no answers, but their stones hum with tales of a brotherhood that defied empires. In Assassin's Creed, the hooded figures leap through history, while Game of Thrones echoes their fanatical loyalty, mirrors of a truth half remembered. The assassin's 850 kills, etched in legend, left a mark no Mongol blade could erase. Yet questions remain. Did Hulagu's victory truly end their reign? Or did the Fidai melt into the shadows, waiting for a new call? The copper tablets may be gone, but their names live on, a cipher waiting to be cracked. The old man's dream, born in blood and myth, still casts a long shadow over our world, a mystery that begs to be unraveled. The tale of the assassins ends not with a whisper, but with an echo that reverberates through time. For nearly 2 centuries, Hasan ibn Sabbah's phantom army reshaped the map of power, their poisoned daggers toppling empires where swords failed. The Seljuks crumbled under the weight of lost leaders, their feuds a gift to the assassins' silent war. The Crusaders, both allies and targets, carried tales of these shadow warriors back to Europe, their exploits woven into the fabric of medieval lore. Even Saladin, a giant among men, bore the scars of their craft, his survival a testament to their relentless pursuit. This was no mere sect. It was a force that bent history to its will, leaving behind a legacy etched in blood and mystery. Yet what of the myths that cloaked their name? The Garden of Paradise, the Speaking Dead, the Old Man's Resurrection. These tales, born in Alamut's shadowed halls, captivated and terrified. Were they the product of Hasan's genius, a psychological web to bind his Fidai? Or did some kernel of truth lie buried in the haze of hashish and faith? The contradiction gnaws at the mind. How could a man who banned wine craft a paradise of excess? Perhaps the hashishid label was a slander, a weapon of foes to diminish a leader whose power needed no drugs. The copper tablets, now lost to time, might have held the key, their names a code waiting for a decipherer brave enough to seek it. In this, the assassins mirror the cryptic brotherhood of Assassin's Creed, where every leap hides a deeper truth. Their fall to the Mongols in 1256 was a tragedy foretold. Alamut's walls, once invincible, crumbled under betrayal and steel, its people slaughtered or scattered, but the end was not absolute. The Nazaris, driven from their mountain throne, melted into the shadows of Syria and Iran, their ties a whisper that endured. The Ismailis rose from these ashes, their faith evolving under leaders like Aga Khan IV, a modern enigma whose wealth and influence hint at a past unburied. From Sardinia's glittering coast to the halls of the United Nations, his shadow stretches, a living echo of Alamut's power. Conspiracy whispers suggest a lineage to the Templars, the Freemasons, even the Illuminati, secret knowledge passed through centuries. Is this the assassin's true legacy? A thread woven into the world's unseen tapestry. Reality and myth blur in their story, a dance as old as time. The 850 kills, perhaps more, recorded in legend, speak to a precision that shaped nations, while the myths address a human need for meaning amid chaos. Hasan, the scholar turned despot, ruled with a ruthlessness that spared neither son nor daughter, his vision a double-edged blade of faith and fear. The Fidai, trained to endure and kill, became symbols of loyalty akin to Game of Thrones' Unsullied, their lives a sacrifice to a dream. Yet for all their terror, they were men, not monsters, shaped by a world that demanded survival at any cost. So what remains of the assassins today? Their fortress lies in ruins, a silent witness to a lost age, but their name lives on, synonymous with murder, mystery, and mastery. Do their descendants walk among us, cloaked in modern guises, or are they a memory we cling to, a story to explain the shadows we fear? The answer lies not in stone, but in the questions we dare to ask. Were they heroes, villains, or something beyond? The choice is yours to ponder, a riddle as old as the mountains themselves. Their tale closes here, but the shadow they cast endures, inviting us to look closer, to seek the truth beneath the myth. The story of the assassins does not fade with the fall of Alamut. It lingers like a shadow cast by a dying star, its light stretching into our modern world. The ruins of that mountain fortress, silent amid the Persian peaks, hold secrets that whisper through time, inviting us to look more closely. Could the Fidai's legacy still pulse in the veins of today's society, hidden beneath the surface of our everyday lives? The answer lies in the threads of conspiracy, the echoes of pop culture, and the questions we dare to ask ourselves. Conspiracy theorists weave a web as intricate as Alamut's defenses. They claim the assassin's knowledge, mastery of disguise, poisons, and unwavering loyalty flowed like a hidden river to the Knights Templar, those crusader monks who returned from the Holy Land with more than faith. From the Templars, the story goes, this wisdom passed to the Freemasons, their secret handshakes a distant echo of the Fidai's oaths. And then the Illuminati, a name that conjures images of shadowy boardrooms pulling the strings of nations. Is Aga Khan IV, the Ismaili leader whose wealth rivals kingdoms, a keeper of this ancient craft? His role in humanitarian efforts, from Afghan refugee camps to Sardinia's Costa Esmeralda, hints at a power beyond mere philanthropy. Some whisper he guards a codex of assassins' secrets, a manuscript that could unravel the world's hidden order. The truth remains elusive, a cipher locked in the silence of history. But the possibility sends a chill down the spine. Pop culture has seized this enigma with both hands, breathing new life into the old man's dream. In Assassin's Creed, the hooded figures leap across rooftops, their hidden blades a nod to the Fidei's stealth, their creed a mirror of Hasan's unyielding vision. The game's lore pits them against the Templars, a rivalry born from the Crusader alliances of old, blending fact with fantasy in a dance of pixels and plot. Altair and Ezio, their names etched in gaming legend, carry the assassin's spirit into the 21st century, each mission a tribute to the copper tablets of Alamut. Then there's Game of Thrones, where the Unsullied's brutal training and the faceless men's deadly arts echo the Fidei's crucible, boys forged into weapons, their identities erased for a higher cause. These stories captivate millions, asking us to wonder, what if the assassins never truly vanished, but evolved into the heroes and villains of our screens? Yet beyond the thrill of fiction lies a call to engage. What do you think? Did the assassin's secrets shape the secret societies we fear today? Could a modern Fidei walk among us, cloaked in a suit rather than a robe? The idea tantalizes, a mystery that begs for your voice. Some might scoff, dismissing it as the stuff of novels, but history teaches us that truth often hides in the shadows of disbelief. The Ismailis, still thriving in India, Pakistan, and beyond, pay tithes to their leader, a practice that fueled Aga Khan's empire. Ethnographers like Jean Milor, trekking through Pakistan, found communities that cling to ancient rites, their eyes glinting with a past unforgotten. Are they the last keepers of Alamut's flame, or merely echoes of a lost age? Let's reflect. The assassins were more than killers. They were a paradox, a blend of faith and fear, myth and reality. Hasan's ruthlessness built an empire, but his heir's greed sowed its ruin. The Mongols erased Alamut, yet the Nizari's spirit endured, adapting, surviving. Today their name evokes intrigue, a symbol of power wielded from the dark. As you watch this, consider the shadows in your own world. Where do they lead? Are we all in some way part of their legacy, shaped by the lessons of loyalty and sacrifice they left behind? This journey ends here, but the story doesn't. The assassin's shadow stretches into our future, a riddle wrapped in a dagger's gleam. Share your theories below. Do you see their hand in today's mysteries? Like, subscribe, and let's keep unraveling the past together. For every legend holds a grain of truth waiting to be found.